भद्रं कर्णैभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Let us now pray together. We offer our salutations to the all-loving being who endows all beings with consciousness. We meditate on the Lord who is the origin of the universe. Lord, thou abidest in all, thou art all, thou assumest all forms, thou art the origin and goal of all, thou art the self of all, thou art existence, knowledge and bliss. Salutations unto thee. May the world be peaceful. May the wicked become gentle. May all creatures think of mutual welfare. May their minds be occupied with what is spiritual and abiding. May our hearts be immersed in selfless love for the Lord. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Let us think of our unchanging core of consciousness, the center of our being. While the bodies change, the situation in the world changes, the mind changes. I remain the same. It is changeless. Beyond the effect of time and space. It is thus one without a second. I am immortal. When I think of myself as this unchanging spirit, This is the source of everlasting true existence. The consciousness and bliss. To experience this is the goal of life. Because experiencing this means there is nothing more to be attained. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Dear friends, today in major part of the world there is this celebration of Easter where it is seen people are happy, celebrating because Jesus is resurrected. Of course, in some cultures like Eastern Orthodox Church, today actually is Palm Sunday. This morning, Varyona informed me that in her Romania, the Easter is next Sunday. Today it is Palm Sunday. Here she comes, as I was taking her name, that it is for her, it is Palm Sunday today. And then the next Sunday is the Easter Sunday. So, whatever it may be, it assumes a tremendous significance in Christianity. This phenomena of resurrection really helped the spread of Christianity, and we all on this day try to see what that great message is, that the message of Easter. Of course, there are many who do not actually accept the physical resurrection. It is because physical resurrection is not actually verifiable historically, and therefore many discount that idea. We, the Hindus or the Vedantists, we see that it is not necessary also. It is, the purpose is to see that I am not this body and this heap of flesh and blood. That is not what I am. I am not something that keeps on shifting and changing. I am the unchanging, eternal, immortal reality. And that is what Jesus demonstrated. The incarnations of God. Jesus was one of the incarnations of God. And the purpose of this incarnation of God is to teach us, as Jesus himself stated, the goal and the way. What this life is for, what is the purpose behind it, and how to achieve it. It is a practical science. Like you have the goal, but not something that is just ethereal something, not just an idea, not just a concept, but there is the way to verify it, experience it, and get our lives actually practically illumined by that. So there was a question about it in our Friday class, that well, I like the concept, but I don't feel attracted to it. One question came up, that it is that I would like to read, listen to the lectures, to understand these concepts of Vedanta about the self and so forth, but I don't feel emotionally or connected with that in feelings. So later I said to that person, what would you be happy with more, to have just the concept of pizza or actually a pizza to eat? And then that person said, that answers the question. It is the concepts are. What is this? Voice of immortality? Okay. So is it changing? Feedback. Okay, okay. So we have been trying to identify some problems in the sound and broadcasting system and all that. So don't worry, you may hear something like that. So anyway, so just remember that this is not part of what I am telling. It is not the proper message that I am bringing today. So it is. So this is, even amongst the Christians, there are divisions about it, whether to accept resurrection as a physical phenomena, or as Jesus resurrected out of this physical form into the true spirit, the spiritual resurrection. In fact, many, there was a paper published on this around Easter of last year, and this has been replaced with some additional information. This is the paper that was by Jason Oliver Evans, and he is a PhD candidate at Religious Studies, University of Virginia. So here he has given some thought currents in the contemporary Christian thought, especially in the amongst the Baptists. So he says that he quotes one theologian, Luke Timothy Johnson, that by affirming resurrection, Christians do not mean that Jesus' body was merely resuscitated. Rather, as New Testament scholar, he mentions that resurrection means that Jesus entered into an entirely new form of existence. Jesus entered in a new form of spiritual existence, real existence. So even earlier than this, in 1926, around that time, a Presbyterian theologian, he was Reverend Henry Emerson Fosdick, and I am quoting from that paper, that a liberal Baptist pastor who served as First Presbyterian Church and later Riverside Church in Manhattan, rejected the bodily resurrection of Jesus. Rather, Fosdick viewed the resurrection as a persistence in Jesus, in Christ's personality. A Christ personality means that connected with Godhood. Jesus was a Christ. Christ does not necessarily mean Jesus. It is, I learnt in our interfaith group discussions, that Swami, Christ is a different thing. Jesus was a person who was Christ. That like it is one person was Christ doesn't mean that is another person cannot be. The Christ means the messenger of God. So, he then became in his true spirit the messenger of God. Also here it is quoted from another authority, very highly respected authority, not just for his theological opinions, but he led that great movement of liberty, as it were, that they Martin Luther King Jr., and we all have heard his name. He was also a Baptist minister, Baptist pastor, and he says in his autobiography, he mentions that in his early adolescence he denied the bodily resurrection of Jesus, and later also he wrote a paper while studying in the seminary that it is resurrection means trying to make sense of what led to the development of Christian doctrine of Jesus' bodily resurrection. For King, the experience of early followers of Jesus was at the root of their belief in resurrection, and his paper says they had been captivated by the magnetic power of his personality. This basic experience led to the faith that he could never die. In other words, the bodily resurrection of Jesus simply is the outward expression of early Christian experience, not an actual or at least a verifiable event in human history. So, it is like that when you have a lot of following, people look upon you as a very powerful and charged person. They get the idea that this person will never die. It had happened recently also, comparatively recently, to figures like Aurobindo. It is Aurobindo's followers said that he will never die. But now, as it happens, one day he died. But then his body was kept preserved, saying that it is a divine body, it will never rot, it will never decompose. But after, for first day, second day, some news kept on coming, still the body is intact. After 4 days, the news stopped coming. So, so it is, those followers, we get some special ideas, and actually in Upanishads or Bhagavad Gita, the cardinal scriptures of Hindus, there is no mention of such unscientific ideas, that the body is subject to decomposition. And yet we know, all of us know in the heart of heart, that we want to be immortal. We want to continue to exist. We want to exist. And what is the source of this? In fact, Darwin gave this as one of the reasons for evolution, struggle for existence, that how the species evolve, because in one situation that species will not be able to survive, so it adopts, changes, and thus takes a new form and it survives. So, struggle for existence is a very deeply rooted human thought, that we don't want to die. There is an incident in Mahabharata, very often quoted, often remembered, it comes in what is called that the Shanti Parva. Oh no, sorry, it comes in the that Mahabharat Yuddha Parva. Well, before that, this comes, this idea that when these Pandavas, they were in the forest dwelling, they had that, they felt very thirsty, and then one of the youngest one went out. They were 5, so the youngest one went and saw a big lake, and then went to take the water, and he heard a voice telling him, no, this water is protected by a celestial being. You cannot touch it unless you ask some questions, answer some of my questions. I have some questions, and then if you answer those, then only I will let you take the water from here. But he did not pay heed to the voice, went to take the water and fell unconscious. Then other 3 succeeding brothers also met the same fate. The eldest one, Yudhishthira, then goes there, finds all other 4 brothers lying unconscious, dead practically, and so he also heard the voice as he went to touch the water. Hey, no, look what happened. What you need to do is answer my questions first. And then it is a very philosophically elevating part in Mahabharata titled Yaksha Prashna. Yaksha means that celestial being. He asked some very, very fundamental questions of human life. And one of those questions was, what is the most astonishing fact of life? Kim Ashcharyam. What is astonishing in this world? And this King Yudhishthira answers that although we see the dance of death all around us, somehow or other we feel that we are going to be immune from that. It is not going to touch me. Others are dying. It is psychologically, it is so difficult to internalize one's own death. You can feel the death of others, but your own death, it is very difficult or well nigh impossible to feel. So that is how this, because life we crave for, we want to be, and so where is our being? The one has to therefore distinguish, as we were doing while meditating. The body comes and goes. There is no survival of body as such. The body is a sequence, of chemical changes. That is what we call body. And there is nothing else. Every moment it is changing. And at one level the change comes to such a stage that you cannot recognize it anymore. It doesn't breathe, it doesn't do any actions. So then you call it, well, the stage has come when you have to now discard the body. The body has been discarded then by someone who is the soul. So, who is the spirit? That spirit has discarded this body, and that which discards the body is thus immortal. The body dies, we don't die. Let us remember this. And so, as Jesus has shown the way, a resurrection, this comes in the Bible even before this, the Jesus crucifixion. It was that what is his name, Lazarus, the brother of Martha and Mary. So Martha and Mary sent for Jesus that the one whom you love, is dead. They sent the message, he is very sick. So they didn't say dead. So Jesus said, let's go. And then by the time he reached, the fellow was already not only dead, buried 4 days ago. So Jesus then says that, come on, open that. It comes in this John 11, 25, 27, and then a bit later also. And there he says, open, come on, lift that stone there on where you have put him. And this sister Martha says, now that must be stinking already. So Jesus said, no, open. And then he says, hey, come on, Lazarus, come on. And then Lazarus opens the eyes. And there he mentions a very important statement, I am the resurrection. Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live. So, and whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Do you believe this? Jesus asked them. Do you believe this? Believe thou this? Very difficult to believe. It is believing these things which are against our experience. It is so difficult. And because we see that, well, what is happening if I believe in Jesus? How can I survive, live all the time? Yes, if we believe in the message of Jesus that you are not this physical frame, this body is subject to death, and yet the spirit is immortal. And how do we experience this? Therefore, we have to practice this, that this wisdom that I am not this body. And it is just we are believing as this fact, that it is the truth is this, that I am not body. We have seen earlier also several examples of this, that I am not body. Many are sitting here but are not actually here. So they do not, they have not heard. So physically they are here, but they are not here. So it shows that I am not body. Body keeps on shifting and changing. I am not body, so I remain the unchanging divine. So when we learn to believe this, when we accept this and see that I am not body, then what can kill me? I do not get killed, just as in Bhagavad Gita you are therefore told that the body is like a garment, a clothing that you put on. Just as when your clothing gets torn and you discard it, you do not die. So the body has birth, growth, and then it starts degenerating and dies. So that is going to happen to body, but not to me. That experience is going to make us immortal. See, body, these three facts have to be remembered. That body is subject to death. There is no way that the body can be made immortal. It is, even that idea is a very illogical one. Body can never be made immortal. That is one part. Second part to remember is, if I am identified with body, when my awareness is I am body, then when the body dies, with that I also die because I am body. And the third important thing, if I understand and experience that I am not body, then the death of body is not going to affect me. I am not going to thus die because of the death of body. It is, in fact, there is no concept of death of self. What would you understand concept of death for the spirit, which is everywhere, which is timeless? What can kill it? What can alter it, change it? It remains unaffected throughout. So this is what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, and Jesus underlines these concepts. He therefore states that, look, this is whatever is perishable, like body, it is all perishable. Know that you are not that. It is, turn your attention to that which does not perish. So this is, if you read Sermon on the Mount, this is the idea that is coming to us in great force again and again. And how to do it? So despise all those things which you get attracted to because of identification with body. And despise those things. So, and thus you lose yourself in God, and thus you meet eternal life. Otherwise, you don't have any life, you are dying. It is, so despise those things which tie us to the body, which make us get identified with the body. And do not get deluded by the attractions that are there because of the identification with body. When we get deluded by that, there is, I am body, and then I have birth, I have growth, and I have death. So there is, we have seen in history this tremendous desire to keep the body going on forever. It is, that is how the one of the source of the science of chemistry is that alchemy, to find out an elixir, that drinking which one will become immortal. And then we don't like to be in an existence that is, poor existence. We want to be rich. So another idea in alchemy was to have that stone, that particular substance, touching which the baser materials will become gold. So that is how the science of chemistry evolved from there, because of this very deep-rooted idea that let me become immortal physically. But the body, howsoever long it may last, it has to fall. And long is only a relative term. It is, it just comes and goes. That in Shankaracharya's one of the hymns, it has this beautiful idea. Dalini dalagata jalamati taralam tadvad jivitam atishaya chapalam. Like the water drop on a lotus leaf. Lotus leaf, it is, no water sticks on it. So the drop, it just moves and just slides down. You cannot hold it on the a lotus leaf. So, similarly, the life here is very fickle, just comes and goes, that's it. So, that is whatever therefore ties us to the body, that is to be given up. And that is the message that this Easter has for us, to know that I am the immortal spirit. Here I will read some passage from one of the lectures by Swami Akhilananda, the founder of this Vedanta Center in 1928. This Vedanta Society started in way back 1928, about 94 years now. So it is, so many of his lectures were put in his books. About Jesus Christ he spoke, and this book is Hindu View of Christ. Very illuminating, informative book. So, and I am quoting now, we must find the real implications of immortal life. Can we have permanent satisfaction in life, lasting peace and happiness on this plane of existence? Our answer is no, it is impossible. Jesus tells us time and again, and he also demonstrated that the flesh must be crucified in order to ascend in spirit. And this crucifixion is what I was telling about. Deny that which the body is craving for. Because although it appears to be very pleasant initially, it is actually pain, and because of the habit we keep on calling it pleasure. Actually there is no pleasure in it. So, but we go for it again and again, because once you went there for pleasure, then what happens is, even though there is no pleasure, the habit gets formed now. And so you are forced to go there again and again. That it is, you know that eating certain things are going to cause problem. But now the habit has been formed, and then therefore you have to do it. It is like taking alcohol, for example, or taking sugars. All this, they become addictive. And so even if you don't want, you cannot really get away from that. It has such a stranglehold on us. So this is how there is no... Jesus tells us time and again, and he also demonstrated that the flesh must be crucified in order that to ascend in spirit. Does that mean that we are to crucify ourselves consciously and deliberately by torturing and tormenting the flesh, like the ascetics who think that they will thereby have immortal life? There are persons in India and the West too who have actually mortified their bodies in the hope of conquest of their physical nature. This is a mistake. Look at the psychology and philosophy of it. In both cases, where you are pampering the body or torturing it, in both cases, what is happening is you are taking that body as your true self. You are, yes, I am denying myself, or I am pampering myself. In both cases, this body has been given this realism. It is. But that is not what is told. Learn that you are not the body. So I quote again, this is a mistake, and it is not the way in which to conquer our physical corruptible nature It can only be overcome by spiritual processes. We must overcome the world with its difficulties and limitations by mental force, not by physical force or torture of the body. Torture of the body is not religion. It is many take recourse to it because they feel that the other end had been giving all these so-called pleasures to the body, and then that made me slave, so let me go to the other extreme. That is not the way. It is you have to deny this again and again, that I am body. It is, if you are body, whether you torture it, what happens is that torturing becomes a pleasure then. There are people who like to get flogged, they have that morbid idea of pleasure, and they are addicted to that, and thus, they pay for getting flogged. So it is terrible, but that is their way of pleasure. Some have the pleasure, in throwing up, vomiting. So they eat something, and then they have that disease to just throw up, and they take pleasure in that. If it doesn't happen, they feel uneasy. So it is, normally we consider that vomiting, not good, let me take medication. But there are people, because of the habit, that they now are accustomed to that kind of behavior. So this is all with the idea that I am body. It is, if you get into the habit, then although for others it is a torture, for you it becomes a point of that happiness, pleasure. You have to have it, otherwise you don't feel happy. So it is like smoking. I never understood, even now I don't understand, that how can it be giving a sense of happiness, to someone. But there are innumerable people who do get it, that smoke and bring out, make your sinus a chimney like, keep on throwing out the smoke, and not only this, you become, you spend so much of money. It is, but once you are in the habit, you cannot resist it. So this is a mistake, friends, to by torturing the body, you cannot get this awareness. Then what is the way out? That feel that this kingdom of heaven is within you. That is a great message of Jesus. There are many others who try to conquer natural forces by expressing superiority over them and by improving physical conditions. They seem to think that by overcoming laws of nature through science and other means, they will make their physical life satisfactory. So, it is, that also is not the correct idea. It is, the real truth in this is that we have to, if we can get control over our fine movements in our mind, then we will be able to dissociate from the body. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that how that the difference between a person who has realized the spirit and the one who has not is, I don't know here how many people have actually seen that, but where Sri Ramakrishna lived, and I lived in many other parts with similar these things available, that you get a wet coconut and a dry coconut. In the wet coconut, the flesh is sticking to the shell. It is so when you break, you have to take a knife or something to take out the pulp from the out of the shell. When the coconut becomes dry, they become separated. And actually you can make a sound, kad, 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 that the kernel or the flesh, that ball is dry and now is hitting the external shell and makes the noise. So he says that in a person who has experienced this, sees that the body and self are different, they are separated now, like the kernel of the coconut, the flesh and the outer shell. So body is different, I am different. This awareness becomes important. He used to tell a nice story about it, that there was one sage, Vyasa, and then he was near the bank of the river Jamuna, and then there were many cowherd girls, gopis, who had there all these milk produce, the milk, the yogurt, the butter and so forth, which they wanted to go and sell on the other bank of the river. Because where things grow, they don't sell there. You have to take them elsewhere to sell them. So they wanted to go, but the river was flooded. And no boatman was going to put the boat in danger by putting it in that flood. So now they were perplexed. They were all perishable goods, and there were no cold storages those days. So they thought that they will have to incur a big loss, and they saw a sage, that Vyasa. And then there is that assumption that the sages can show some way through this problem. Therefore, even to Swamis like me, I say I don't understand anything of it, but people bring so many types of different questions to me in the hope that I will be able to provide a solution. That it is that, oh, this is the problem, this migraine, I have got such terrible problem, what do you suggest? Said, well, if I get some such problem, I go to doctor, I don't have any problem, any expertise in that. But people think that, well, they can do something about it. So they asked the sage Vyasa, hey, what should be done? And Vyasa said, whatever it may be, I am very hungry. Give me whatever you have. So they had whatever milk and butter, and he ate a lot to the full belly, and then stood there and said, O Mother River Jamuna, if I have not eaten anything, then please part your basin and let these girls cross. And they were worried. How can that be true? He has eaten so much. He should have said, O Mother Yamuna, if I had eaten full stomach, then how now, what will happen? But the Mother Yamuna, that river, just parted, and then they could go. Why? Because Vyasa had this awareness that I am not the body. So he did not eat anything. The body, the things were put in the body, just as you fill gas in your car. You put, don't say that I have put lot of gas in me. No, it is in the car that it is filled. So this, for him, this body was like a car used for travel, You put yourself in this car of body and move about. So the food went there. I have not eaten anything. So that is how the awareness becomes that I am not that body. So this article continues that on the other hand, a man of higher consciousness of the unity of existence cannot seriously take the body and such things as permanent, nor can he become disturbed over the changeable conditions of life. That person is fully awakened to the presence of God everywhere. So, everywhere now you see that one divine existence. So, that is, the thing is now having separated from body. It is a transcendental experience. That is how Jesus spread everywhere as message. As body, he could not have gone to so many places all over and all time. So, but the spirit is everywhere. It is not limited to here and there. So, therefore, just you can do that experiment yourself. And one should do it. It's a good meditation. That just think that you are not this particular shape, which is just a fact. It is true that I am not this shape. Some years ago, the shape was different. So it is, I am not this shape. Easy to think about, theoretically at least, that I am not this body, this shape. Now, what does it mean? You have transcended this form. And so now you are everywhere, isn't it? When you were thinking of yourself as just here, then you were here. And then to go somewhere, this has to go there. Then only you can go. But when you are not this body, then you are everywhere. Where are you not? You are everywhere then. So that is how it becomes, very clear then. That is how the message of Jesus, as message, it can spread everywhere. It is, as a body, it has very limited scope. So, as spirit, Jesus went everywhere. And that is what he showed, that look, this is the way to resurrect. He therefore says, I am resurrection. He is resurrection. Means the way for us to get out from this identification of body. He is resurrection. Let us resurrect ourselves from this identification with this flesh, bones and all that. And let us assert this, that I am not this body. In Chandogya Upanishad there is a beautiful chapter. It is about the Indra and Virochana going. Indra is the leader of the angels and Virochana is the leader of the demons. I am not going to tell you the whole story. It is a very illuminating thing there. But then when there is this, gradually the Indra is getting more and more illumined. Of course, he had to spend a lot of time. The very first step, it is that Prajapati, he did not even allow them to ask questions for first 32 years. 32 years stay here, observing all the rules, and then ask the question. So, and then every stage he said another 32 years, another 32 years, to show the importance of patience. Do you get it, Charlie? That importance of what? Patience, yeah. You have to keep on practicing for a long time. So, at the end of the 100 years, then he told to the Indra that the Virochana, the leader of the demons, he didn't have much patience. So he, after 32 years, whatever was learned, he said that's the ultimate truth. It is, but Indra persisted. And that after the 100 years, he was told, a very beautiful passage comes there, very illuminating. That he says, Magwan, martyam va idam shariram attam mrityuna. very strong words that, "O Indra, this body is martya," means it is subject to death. It gets eaten. It is worthy to be eaten by death. Attam rityuna. So, and what happens in this body? When you are identified with body, we are tortured by the attractions and repulsions. He says there, sharire vavasantam priya priye sprushatah. That when you are identified with body, then I like this and I don't like this. These becomes, the terrible pulls in life. Whatever you feel that you like, you get attracted towards that. And whatever you don't like, you get repelled from that. So that becomes the life. And the problem is, you may say, well, if I like something and I get attracted, would it not be fine? The problem is that what I like at one time, and then after some time I don't like that. Now, but by that time I am already attached to it, so I have to now pull myself away from it. That is a torture. And what I had tried to get away from, well, it starts making the feel that I like it. So you have to now, against your judgment, you get pulled towards that. So that becomes the life being kicked. That is why Patanjali calls it as the klesha, that likes and dislikes. It is somehow in our present education system, too much stress has been given on like-dislike. It is let the children do whatever they like to do. Oh, you see, that is a completely wrong idea, because they make a decision based on the liking. Now they are stuck with that decision, but what they liked gets changed into dislike. What can be done now? You cannot now. Reversing the decision is a big cost, you see. A lot of time will be wasted and may not be possible also. So therefore, this like and dislike, when does it affect us? When I identify myself with body. Next statement in that same passage in Chandogya Upanishad, asharire vavasantam priya priye nasprushataha. When you realize that you are not the body, then the likes and dislikes do not affect you in any way. And so if you see, this is the Holy Week from, that Jesus enters there in Jerusalem and starts preaching, and then there are those some miracles are performed there. That is that resurrection of Lazarus, as we saw, and then he antagonizes all. Then there is that wonderful event of the Last Supper, a great statement of the mission of Jesus, that he says there that everything that has been stated will have to come true. Howsoever difficult for you now to believe it, he says, one of you is going to hand over me to the enemy. And Judas says, do you mean me? Well, I don't say, it is you who said it. You said it. And they are disciples of Jesus. Jesus was their beloved. And then one of you, he says, before the rooster crows 3 times, will be denying me. Peter said, are you referring to me? Jesus says, you said it. It is And how can we do that? We will not do that. But they had to do exactly the same thing. Because they are bound by the script of the play. It has to come true. And he said, but the most important thing he mentions there, that you love each other as I have loved you. It is there at the Last Supper, that great idea of that Eucharist, and then the body of Jesus and blood of Jesus came up. He broke the bread, gave to everybody, eat it as my flesh, and drink this wine as my blood. It is horrible, but you have to say they are all historical. Horrible, isn't it? Drinking the blood of Jesus. Many, argue, do you think that we are the cannibals eating the flesh of Jesus and drinking blood of Jesus? Hey, we are not vampires to drink blood of Jesus. But what it signifies is very important. That it is, you have to say the historical customs and all that, where a great person, the message is to be taken in. So, symbolically, the message is tied to that person's body. It is coming from there. So, taking a part of it will bring that message to me. That was the idea there. So that was the Last Supper. And then things moved, as we know, he was crucified. And then there was a lot of that drama there. As he didn't die because he was not body. So body alone died. And then there are these stories, people agree, disagree on that. The tomb was found empty and all that. But main point in resurrection is this. Jesus says, I am the resurrection. I am the resurrection. So let us remember that it is with his help, with following his message, we will get rid of this terrible bondage of body, and thus we will not be touched by death at all. So thank you, friends. If you have any questions, after a few seconds you can ask. Just let us meditate on this message for a little while, and then you can ask the question. Any question? Oh, you have a question?
Now, who wrote the Hindu view of Christ?
Swami Akhilananda. Yeah, right. So, any question upstairs? Okay, good. So, I will tell you about the upcoming programs in the week. Next Sunday, there is, the topic is, I don't know why I gave this topic, I have forgotten the idea behind it. Psychology of evaluating. So it is, maybe Teresa can help me, what is it? Psychology of evaluating. So other programs during the week, like the Tuesday and Friday classes at 7:30 p.m. They will go on as usual. Tuesday the topic is that Sri Ramakrishna and his divine play, and Friday it is stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. Daily morning and evening prayers and meditations will go on as usual, as mentioned in our flyer. And although that poster I have not put on, just to give you an advance notice, on June 18th, Saturday, June 18th, there will be a day-long retreat to be given by Swami Tyagananda of Vedanta Center in Boston. So, of course, you will have to register it. Right now the registration is not open, but soon it will be open in a few days. So let us conclude with the closing prayers. Then there will be Arati, and then there are some, Easter. There are the Easter bunnies and Easter eggs and something like that. Yes, I remember my deception with the Easter bunny. That very year that I came, then I was presented by somebody, a devotee, a big bunny, Easter bunny. So I thought it is a very nice piece, very decorative, and I had kept it somewhere as a showpiece. And then those who knew that it is chocolate, always they would go in front of my room and all. And then one volunteer asked, "Swami, when are you going to open and distribute that candy?" Candy? Where is the candy? That bunny, Easter. Is it a candy? See, because she was looking upon it as candy, she was affected by its being candy. I didn't know that it was candy, so I never had a desire to eat it, you see. I told her, thank you, now that I didn't know it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have found it it would have gone much earlier. So, anyway, so please, while going, you can take those bunnies and Easter eggs and whatever, and then there is the soup supper in the basement. May the Divine, who is Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Great Spirit of the Native Americans, Ahur Mazda of the Zoroastrians, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the all-loving being manifest himself unto us and grant us abiding understanding and all-consuming divine love. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.
God incarnate and the Lord of all things, helping us join with you. Your mind's always set in the divine light. Your mind's always set in the divine light. This we can see through your grace. Destroyer of our worldly sorrow and compassion soul, infinite is your word. Your life's offered for the world's deliverance. Your life's offered for the world's deliverance, saving us from darkness and fear. Renouncer of all lust and lucre, therefore you were always spurning sensual life. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Lord of monks, you are the best of men. Grant to us pure love for you. You're fearless and you're free from doubting, with your mind very firmly resolved. Causeless refuge of your devotees, causeless refuge of your devotees, renouncing caste and birth. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even-sightedness. You give love and even-sightedness to remove our anguish here. Our treasure is your holy feet, which take us very soon across this puddle of life. You give love and even-sightedness. You give love and even-sightedness to remove our anguish here. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Yet you are the basis of both. O Lord, yet you are the basis of both. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Darkness is destroyed by your light. O Lord, darkness is destroyed by your light. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Greetings to you, O Lord, beyond both speech and mind. Yet you are the basis of both. O Lord, yet you are the basis of both. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Great light of all lights, blazing in the heart's gate. Darkness is destroyed by your light. O Lord, darkness is destroyed by your light. Langa, ranga, bhanga, these are all the sounds of Vedanta. Langa, ranga, bhanga, these are all the sounds of Vedanta. Spiritual Spiritual songs devotees are singing for your worship divine. Spiritual songs devotees are singing for your worship divine. Jaya Jaya for your worship divine. Haru Haru for your worship divine. Shiva Shiva for your worship divine. Breaker of all our worldly bondage and adored by all, we adore you too. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Auspicious and blessed, graciousness sublime, all noble ends you give to us, granting us refuge, all seeing Gauri. O Mother Divine, our love to you. Creation, preservation, dissolution are your powers, eternal one. Nature's real basis, nature's essence. O Mother Divine, our love to you. We come seeking refuge from anguish. Be our Savior through your deep concern. All our suffering remove, Goddess. O Mother Divine, our love to you. Victory, O Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Blessed Mother Divine, our love to you. Jai Shri Ram Krishna Dev Ki Jai. Jai Shri शारदा देवी की जय। जय श्री स्वामी विवेकानंद की जय। जय श्री बुद्धदेव की जय। जय श्री जीसस क्राइस्ट